Although the Zero Hour went off the air in the spring of 1974, the people involved didn't stop working. Rod Serling always kept a full schedule. His final radio performance was part of Fantasy Park, a fantasy rock concert aired by nearly 200 stations in 1974 and 75. Always a heavy smoker, on May 3, 1975, Serling had a heart attack. A second heart attack 2 weeks later forced doctors to agree that a risky open-heart surgery was necessary. On June 26th, Serling had a third heart attack on the operating table and died 2 days later at Strong Memorial Hospital in Rochester, New York. He was just 50. His funeral and burial took place on July 2nd in Seneca, New York.
I think there's an unfortunate thing in the entertainment business. If it's properly done, whatever it is, what you do, what I do, what Jack does, if it's properly done, it looks to somebody on the outside like, well, that's nothing to it. You know, I can do that. I just turn on a machine and hold a microphone in the fellow's face and ask him questions. Great. But there's more to it than that. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people have come in the history of the entertainment business from the Greeks, I suppose, where somebody said, well, he thinks he can write a play. What do you see what I write? What's so great about the frogs? I'll write a play called The Gypsies or whatever. You know, well, there's a talent to it. So a lot of things get screwed up, unfortunately.
Elliott Lewis would continue in TV, before again working with Mutual on radio dramas at the end of the decade.
Actually, my first endeavor in the whole live theater business happened about right around the year 2000 or so. I had taken a tour with Paula, my present wife, and my son, Philip, of the Lower East Side Tenement Museum, which is on Orchard Street.
Sure, yeah.
And I took the tour. It was a tenement that had been, it was a time capsule. It's a terrific museum, basically, but it's a tenement. And it's where my grandfather would have lived or lived in that area after he got off the boat on Ellis Island, Jewish immigrant, Eastern European Jewish immigrant, one of the hundreds of thousands that came in late in the, up to about in the 1910, 1915, in that era. Anyway, I took this tour, we finished the tour, and I looked at Paula and I looked at Philip and I said, you know what, this might make a good idea for a musical. A couple years later, we had mounted the production of Stoop on Orchard Street, which turned out in a theater 6 blocks from the Tenement Museum. In fact, for my promotional partner in the early first 6 or 7 months, we were off Broadway with that production 8 shows a week for 16 months. Mm-hmm. We had a second company in South Florida and a national tour, so it's been performed about 1,000 times. But it came out of a visit to the Tenement Museum.
Jay Kolos continued innovating, eventually forming a theater company, Orchard Street Productions, in 2001. These days he lives in Nashville, where Kolos writes music and scripts for his own productions, while Orchard Street also licenses musicals and plays for local, regional, and North American tours.